Hello everybody, Wild Bill for America here. Thank you for watching. You know, it was a hot summer night many years ago when I was dispatched to a home in South Florida. A 4-year-old girl had been missing for 8 days. Nobody'd seen the kid for over a week, so naturally I asked the mother why she had waited so long to call the sheriff's department. She looked me right in the eye and she said, "I don't get no money for that one." It was about the most callous thing I have ever heard. I mean, that little girl could have fallen in a well and been crying for somebody to come get her. But her mother couldn't care less. Well, it didn't take me long to find the kid. She was at her aunt's house across town. But I drove away from that call wondering, what kind of families are we creating with our welfare mentality? Fatherless children, living in poverty. You know, the destruction of the family is one of the most serious problems this country is facing. So why are we financing that? And how can anybody call that compassionate? Now, in that same neighborhood were several crack houses that we used to raid regularly. And then us cops would set up in the crack house and bust the people who came by to buy drugs. The neighbors always liked to sit out on their porches and watch the druggies get busted. I always enjoyed talking to the neighbors and sometimes even had dinner with them. One day I was talking to the man who lived across the street and I asked him what he does. He said he was on government disability. But I'd seen him working around his house and he didn't look disabled to me, and I said so. He held up his hand and said, "Look at that finger." His ring finger was about a ½ inch shorter than it was supposed to be. He says, "Look at that finger, man. I can't work." I walked away from that thinking, that's just not right. And then I read the other day that up to 40% of the population in America is now on some kind of government assistance. 40%? Now, I know a lot of those people truly need some help, especially since Obama took office. But how many of them are just parasites like the two I just told you about? You know, welfare was never intended to be a career. And in these troubled times, we cannot afford to support parasites. For far too long, they have abused our generosity and bled America dry. I believe the welfare system is the biggest vote-buying scheme in America. And years ago, corrupt politicians would stand outside the polls with stacks of money and they would give some to anybody who would vote for them. It was dishonest, and election laws soon put a stop to that corrupt practice, but today's politicians have found a way to keep it going. Instead of handing out money at the polls, they just keep the welfare checks going to the parasites, and the parasites keep voting for the corrupt politicians. And America suffers, and the children suffer, and the people who work for a living get screwed. It's my Wild Bill opinion that we need to kick the government out of the welfare business. It should have never gotten involved in the first place. The Constitution says the government is to promote the general welfare, not provide it. And when a person needs a helping hand, responsibility goes first to their family, then to their friends, then to their church, then to their neighbors, and then to a myriad of private organizations. All of those should be ashamed that they have failed to do their duty in America. Now, how's this for a welfare plan? If a man will not work, neither shall he eat. Now that sounds like a plan that could change lives. But before you start yelling at me, that's God's plan, straight from 2 Thessalonians 3:10. Hey, in God we trust. Oh yeah, I can hear the liberals howling already. Don't you have any compassion for the poor? Hey, I'm a conservative. We have a monopoly on compassion. And the one thing you goofy liberals need to learn about compassion is that if you truly care about someone, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is give them a good swift kick in the rear. You got a problem with that? Hey, talk to God. This is Wild Bill for America. Thank you for watching, and God bless America again.